all of us as parents have our parenting hotspots, and these can be specific times of the day, or they might be specific behaviours or things our children say or the way they say them. We've all got them. So let's explore how they're showing up in your day. How are they showing up in your relationship with your child? Because you can be certain that they'll be not serving your child well. They won't be supporting the relationship that you otherwise have with your child very well, and they'll be bringing you a whole lot of stress and upset as well. So where do these clashes come from? Sometimes they seem to just come out of nowhere. But one thing I encourage you to do is get really curious, because often they will be at the same time of the day. So number one, start looking out and being aware. So when we're getting ready in the morning, that's a classic for most parents trying to get out the door. Is there one child or is there one situation, maybe it's putting on shoes or forgetting that thing and having to go back for it, that really, really presses your hotspot button? Is there a particular behaviour? That's another thing. So that could be your number two, is start looking out, because sometimes we think, oh, it's just my child, it's just their behaviour. But often what we discover is there's something particular that they do, or there's something that when one of the children does it, it really sends us over the edge and it gets us very hot and angry and reactive, much more than other stuff. So that's kind of number two and three together. So number one is try and notice times of the day when you move from having a pretty good temperature balance, so a bit of hot, bit of cold, into really hot and reactive, and be curious about particular behaviours that bring that on, and whether there is one of your children who triggers you more than others. Now, where does this all come from? Where does this reactivity to certain things come from? Well, it comes from our childhood. These are invariably times of the day and behaviours that the adults around us when we were young got very hot under the collar about, got very stressed about, had a very angry or frustrated energy in them around these behaviours, and they either exploded at us or they shut down and got very tight and actually very distant from us, but we could feel their annoyance, which is scary for a child. So these aren't just random things. And why do we keep repeating them, even though we maybe read a parenting book, or we watch a video, or we even do a parenting course, and we think, okay, I really get it now. Yeah, I'm going to be much more intentional and conscious and calm as a parent. But then, boom, we find ourselves repeating stuff. Well, the reason for the answer for that is because this is stuff that's been wired into us in our early childhood, which is the time when our brain and nervous system and body systems are developing super, super fast. So if these were things that we were repeatedly exposed to, then they stay in us now as triggers unless we remove them at a subconscious level and replace them with something else. But in the meantime, until we do that, what's really good to do is start this mission of awareness. Become more noticing of your internal state and these times of the day. So that's kind of number four, is get to know maybe in daily situations when you're not with your children, maybe at work or in the car or, I don't know, shopping or whatever. Get to start tracking. If you notice someone or something annoying you, take a breath, check in with yourself and be curious about what that feels like. It's easier to do away from children, trust me. And the more that you start to learn how you shift inside and what that feels like, then you can start transferring that into when you're around your children. So there might also be times of the day when you become very cold. So you're not boiling hot and raging, but actually you're really shut down and withdrawn. Get curious about that as well. Same process. Look for what does that bring on as behaviours in you, what does that bring on as behaviours in the children. Just get noticing about this stuff, because often that will trigger children as well. If you become very distant, very cold, I don't mean cold as in nasty cold, I mean just shut down and remove because maybe you're exhausted or, you know, something's upset you, then just be aware that the children will pick up on that as well. And what you're aiming for is obviously a really pleasant temperature as often as you can create it for you and the children, because that will take much less out of you, or mean much less of these upsets and disconnections. So I hope these are helpful and that you enjoy being curious.